The Shadow King, cloaked in darkness, surveyed his vast army. They writhed, shadows given form, eager for conquest. Their master smiled a cruel, chilling expression. Across the barren plain, bathed in sunlight, stood the Light King. He was the Shadow King's eternal opposite, his very existence anathema to the King of Darkness. The Light King raised his hand, his warriors taking formation behind him. They were knights in shining armor, their swords gleaming with celestial fire. He laughed, the sound echoing across the battlefield, a challenge. "You cannot win, Shadow King. Your darkness is no match for the light." The Shadow King hissed, his voice a rasping whisper. "We shall see, Lightbringer. We shall see who falls this day." With a roar, he unleashed his shadow army, a tide of darkness rushing towards the light. The two armies met in a thunderous clash of steel and shadow. The air crackled with energy, the ground trembling beneath their feet. The Shadow King, a whirlwind of darkness, darted through the battlefield. He struck with terrifying speed, his touch draining the light from anything it touched. The Light King was a beacon on the battlefield, his every movement radiating power. He met the Shadow King's attacks with blinding speed, his sword a blur of light. They fought with the fury of a tempest, each blow echoing like thunder. The Shadow King lunged, his shadowy blade aimed at the Light King's heart. The Light King twisted away, the blade grazing his arm. He staggered back, his armor singed by the touch of darkness. The Light King, sensing the tide turning, raised his hands to the sky. The sun blazed in answer, its rays intensifying until they were almost unbearable. The battlefield was bathed in blinding light, the shadows recoiling as if burned. "Behold the power of the sun, Shadow King!" the Light King roared. He channeled the sun's energy, unleashing a wave of fire that washed over the battlefield. The Shadow Army shrieked, their forms dissolving under the onslaught of light. The Shadow King roared in fury, his own form flickering under the intense light. But he was cunning, his mind racing. He raised his hands, calling upon his power. Darkness falls. The sky darkened as storm clouds gathered with unnatural speed, blotting out the sun. The air grew cold, the battlefield plunged into an eerie twilight. The Light King, cut off from his source of power, felt his strength waning. "Did you think you could defeat me so easily?" the Shadow King hissed, emerging from the darkness. He moved like a phantom, his form almost invisible in the gloom. The Light King, exhausted from the battle, struggled to raise his sword. He was a warrior of light, not accustomed to fighting in the dark. The Shadow King struck, his blade piercing the Light King's chest. A heart of light, the Light King gasped, his armor clattering to the ground as he fell. The Shadow King ripped his blade free, a triumphant smirk spreading across his face. But his victory was short-lived, as the Light King breathed his last. A blinding light erupted from the wound in his chest. The Shadow King staggered back, shielding his eyes from the glare. When the light subsided, he saw a small crystalline container pulsing with celestial energy where the Light King's heart had been. He had won the battle, but what secrets did this unexpected prize hold? The Shadow King reached out, his fingers closing around the container.